Hi there. Welcome to Module 6 of our IELTS listening skills presentation. In today's module, we are focusing on inferring meaning. Now, is inferring or inference, infer, are they new words for you? Let's get a definition of these words before we go any further. So what is it? Infer is a verb, and it means to determine information from evidence or reasoning rather than from explicit statements. So that means the words are not exactly directly there. You have to do some thinking. In other words, you have to read between the lines or listen between the lines. The word inference is a noun. Obviously, it means something similar. Inference is a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. Reasoning is the thought processes that you put in as a listener or a reader. Now, these two words, infer and imply, often get confused, and I want to point them out to you today, what they mean and how they're used a little bit differently. So again, to infer is to determine information from evidence or reasoning rather than from explicit statements. Who does this? Whose job is it to infer? Well, it's the person that's receiving the information. If you're listening, it's the listener. If you're reading, it's the reader who infers. Now take a look at the definition for imply. To imply is to indirectly suggest something that's not expressly stated. So who does that? Well, that's the speaker or the writer. They want to share meaning, but they don't say it exactly in that way. They want the reader or the listener to do their own work and to understand. What might this look like as you're taking the IELTS listening? Let's take a look at this example here. Now, many examples on the IELTS don't use the word infer or imply or inference in the question, but the question requires you to use inference skills. For example, this question here says, the speaker warns the students that, and then you have three choices. Now, each of these choices isn't going to be directly stated by the speaker. You're going to have to, as a listener, understand what the speaker is talking about, even though they did not use those exact words. Okay? So that's where the inference skill comes in very handy as you're taking the IELTS listening. Now, I have a paragraph for you here, and I want us to figure out what we can infer in this paragraph. Let me read it here. It says, of the 8 people participating in the challenge, there were 3 from Phuket, 2 from other cities in Thailand, and the rest from neighboring Southeast Asian countries. Now, what do we know immediately from this information? Here are the things we know right away. We know there were 8 people taking part in the challenge because it said that. We know 3 of the people were from Phuket. It said that. 2 of the people were from other cities in Thailand. It was directly there. And the remainder were from neighboring Southeast Asian countries. That's the information that was expressly stated, directly stated. So if these are the things we know based on exactly what the reader or the listener saw or listened to, what are the things that you know even though it wasn't directly said? Take a look at these 3 things. Based on what you saw or what you heard, you know that Phuket is a city in Thailand. You are able to infer that. Now, how can we do that? Let's take a look. If there were 3 from Phuket and 2 from other cities in Thailand, that means Phuket is a city in Thailand, even though it doesn't say that directly. The next one, we know that Thailand is a country in Southeast Asia, maybe you already know that, but if you didn't, you could figure that out based on what you read or what you listened to. It says 2 from other cities in Thailand and the rest from neighboring Southeast Asian countries. So if Thailand is neighboring these countries, probably Thailand is one of those Southeast Asian countries. Last one that we can infer is 3 people were from countries near Thailand. Now, how can we figure that out? We have to use inference and maybe some math skills. So we have 8 people altogether. We know, it says directly, that there were 3 from Phuket. There were 2, so that's 4, 5, from other cities in Thailand. And if we have 8 altogether, that means the rest equals 3. Okay, we're inferring that information even though it's not directly stated. How can you improve your inference skills? Let's talk about 2 ways that you can do it. First, I want you to recognize that grammar and vocabulary play a very big role in inference. Just as we looked in that previous example, we used grammar and we used vocabulary as tools to help us understand the information that was assumed or apparent but not directly stated. So listen carefully for those grammar words. Note the vocabulary that will help you make inferences. The second thing I want to point out about inference is that you can use intonation as a tool. Intonation is the way that a word or a phrase goes up and down in the sounds. Now take a look at these 2 words or phrases I have here. And if I say this word, I could say it with a different intonation. That means a different thing. So if you listen carefully to the way the person says it, you can infer part of their meaning. For example, the word really. I could say, really? Now when I had that rising intonation, what did I mean when I said that? Actually, I was asking a question. I was saying, I'm not sure, is this right? Okay, so that was my meaning, and you're able to infer that based on my intonation. What if I said, really? It doesn't mean I'm asking a question to confirm information anymore. It might mean more like I'm surprised or disappointed. Now if I say, really? Again, I'm not asking anything anymore. What I'm doing is confirming information with a little bit of excitement, actually. Next one. It says, so the answer is 6. Could you think of different intonation that might mean something different? What if I use rising intonation at the end? So the answer is 6. As a speaker, when I say that, I am asking for information. I'm asking to confirm whether my answer is correct. But if my intonation is falling at the end, so the answer is 6. 6, it goes down. I'm actually stating information. So again, use intonation as a tool, as a listener, to help you understand the meaning of the speaker. Last tip that I have for you today, it says, act as if what you do makes a difference. And why? Because it really does. So the work that you're putting in this week, it really will make a difference. Believe that and keep working hard. See you next time.